Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Patrick.
So I just started the YouTube video.
Okay.
And I did wipe everything down, all your chairs and things. Mike watched me do it.
I can attest.
I'd only be worried if there was somebody in there. I don't think anybody's ever.
Ritter, are
Yeah.
you on?
Yeah,
Planning Commission.
I'm here.
Yeah, I think we're all here.
Just counting down.
All right.
On the county's meetings, when they do the Pledge of Allegiance, they have a camera that goes to the flag. Do we have that set up?
No, I'd have to go over there.
So that our,
Do you want me to move the flag over for you?
Yeah.
I could hold the flag.
Put it right behind you.
put it
to
up
where-
closer so those guys can see it. We can all look at it between us. Huh?
I think I'm
barely
gonna
missing it.
share my screen here with those online.
That's what they'd want rather than more than our
Yeah, they don't.
faces. They want the
Let's see. I think if they want to, they can switch to this view over here and
Yeah.
still see on their end. Is that right, Danny or Kevin? Even if I share my screen, you can still see a video output.
Depends upon.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, we see little squares of it. Yeah,
thumbnail.
a thumbnail. There you go.
I mean, if there's a
Some of the
fist fight,
technical-
you could tell.
All right, we have. I think we've successfully lobbied until 7:00. So
All right.
I'm gonna gavel us in. It is 7:00, and I would like to call the April 2nd DeSoto City Council meeting to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes, here.
Daniels,
Yes.
Michael, Murdoch,
Yes.
Yes, Ritter.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Okay.
Everybody's present, Mayor.
I will say we can barely hear Lana.
Is your mic on?
Can you pull the mic
Sorry.
closer?
I think when I dusted the counter, I must have
Oh, there you go.
turned it on. Thank you.
Is that
All
better,
right.
Lana? Okay.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'll have to step up to the podium if you want to. Okay. Our first item tonight is our consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes from the council meeting of March 19th and approval of pay ordinance number 875. Any discussion of any item on the consent agenda or a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Michael,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried.
Okay, our next item. I'm not going to read this. The call to public we're suspending because of COVID-19. Did we receive any outside communication
No, Mayor.
regarding the meeting? Okay. Item 3, old business. We have none. So we're under 4, new business. Consider bids for salt spreader stands.
Yes, council, this is one of the several improvements that we'd like to make this year to the new public works facilities. We have $270,000 in this year's CIP to do various improvements there. The storage sheds that you saw at the last meeting are among those. And the stands for these salt spreaders are also on the list. The old situation we had at the old plant, we had these steel frame structures that we hung the salt spreaders. These units are essentially units that just go into the back of a regular pickup truck or a dump truck, strapped down, and they're removable pretty easily. So when we offload them, we used to put them in these racks here. Well, that requires somebody to get up on these racks and secure it with chains and stuff. It's kind of a dangerous situation. So rather than build a new rack like that, there are products where you can actually install freestanding legs onto the bottom of each unit. This is a unit we bought just a couple of years ago. It already had these on it, so wherever that spreader goes, it has a stand with it, and then it doesn't require anybody to get up on that rack and secure the spreader. So that's what we'd like to do. We have two large spreaders and one smaller, actually medium-sized spreader that need this. So a total of three of these. We got bids from American Equipment and from Napahide. American Equipment was the low for a total of $79,47.99. So we're asking for your approval for that bid, and we'll take the money out of that CIP project.
Questions for Mike on the salt spreaders stands?
How do they come off the truck with the thing?
Actually, Ron gave me a video of that. What you do is the back legs can be extended down just as they're mounted while it's mounted in the bed. You can extend the back legs down. Once those are down, you lift the bed of the truck up slightly, and then you start moving the truck forward, and the rest of it rolls out. And so before it rolls off the end of the bed, you can extend the front legs down. So it's just a matter of tilting the bed and moving the truck forward. I could probably pull up that video.
That's all right. You don't need to do that.
Google it.
I get the idea.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from American Equipment Company in the amount of $7,947.99.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried.
Okay, our next item is to consider bids for boiler room roof repair.
As council, I think we've discussed this at least once before. It's been a while, but the room in the basement that houses the old boiler is actually just outside the council windows. If you just look straight down, just outside there, it's got a concrete slab for the roof, and it's been deteriorating, spalling on the bottom and leaking through the top. And we've been trying to decide what best to do with that for the last year or so. One idea had just constructing a new wooden frame roof over the top of that to stop the water intrusion, but that would really just be a Band-Aid idea. So what we did is we engaged a structural engineer, actually the one that helped us out with the fire station rehab, to come up with a design to essentially rehab this roof slab. We're going to be replacing about a third of it and then repairing the rest of it. So here's showing some pictures of the existing condition. This is inside the boiler room looking at the ceiling here. You can see there's an electrical panel, and water gets on and around that electrical panel at times. So we think it's pretty important to go ahead and take care of this. We did get in the packet I included the plans that we bid out. You can see the full repair area is about a third of the roof, and then we're doing some patching on the rest of it. We got two bids for this work. The low bid was Senni and Company for a total of $38,170. This item wasn't in our CIP, but you'll remember this year we have those funds, those specifically dedicated funds, and one of them's for this community center. We have $35,000 in that line item that we'd like to use. This would wipe that line item out, and then the rest would just come from the building maintenance budget. So asking for your approval of the bid from Senni Company.
Okay. Any questions for Mike on the boiler roof repair?
So by using the full amount of the budgeted item, are there anything with the community center that are going to be neglected or have to be put off that are in need of happening?
Well, no, that's another kind of a goal for this year is to develop long-term plans for each one of those funds. We haven't really done this, but if we were to list the things that to use with those funds, this would be the first thing. Yeah, I mean, there's more, there's $35,000 more we could do, but this would take priority over anything else we would have on the list.
And ongoing, we're going to keep replenishing that fund as every
Yeah,
year.
yeah. I mean, that's the intent, and that's what we show.
Hopefully, every year we don't zero it out with.
Well, right.
With one single item. Yeah.
Well, the thought is once we get a kind of a rolling program,
Right.
we can say, you know, if there's a big project that's going to be 100,000,
Yeah.
we can save up.
We won't have
Okay.
the roof won't be able to be done for 35,000. So
Right, right. Yeah. So our 5-year projections assume that those funds will continue forward into the future.
Okay.
We need to talk a little bit more during my report about the budget, so we'll get to that later.
Any other questions?
Mike? Yeah, what do we know about Cine and Company?
You know, I don't know a whole lot. Honestly, I don't have a good answer to that question.
Did we get a recommendation from the engineer, or did he provide an opinion?
No, I don't think he did. We could have a discussion with him if he's heard about them, but I'm sorry, I don't know much about them.
How did they find out about the project, or how did this come? Did we
It was Drexel.
send this out to particular people, or
We put it on Drexel. And the engineer did have a couple of contractors that he had in mind, but no, they were busy, didn't want to bid it. So it's pretty small for the two he had in mind.
Did they have any idea about maybe a fiberglass cap or anything that we could put over that concrete so it won't deteriorate with age?
You know, we thought about, you know, epoxy coating, or I don't know if we really talked about fiberglass, but you know, like I said, the wood frame roof to keep the water out. But the problem is, even if we were to vacuum seal the entire room right now, that the roof is still just in a state of disrepair. I mean, we're having to sweep the roof off the ceiling every month or so because these
Off the
chips keep
floor.
falling down. They're on the floor. Yeah. So I didn't think, you know, even if we could freeze it in its current state, I'm not comfortable leaving it like it is. Just structurally, I wouldn't want people walking on it up here. So that was kind of, and the structural engineer kind of mentioned the same sort of thing. My comfort level with leaving it in place or trying to do any sort of sealing on it, I think it's just beyond that.
I mean, I guess we could delay 2 weeks and seek to get some additional information on the contractor. I mean, we have
Yeah, we could
performance bonds and measures in the contract to ensure
right.
that it would be done. But
Or you could just condition the motion to accept on staff checking out the references. If you want to do that.
yeah,
yeah, I would be good with that. A conditional motion on you know, the city administrator confirming a past performance reference on the contractor.
Is that your motion?
I guess with that, I will make a motion to approve the bid from Cine Company in the amount of $38,170, conditioned on the city administrator performing a reference check on past performance before sending a contract to the mayor for execution.
I'll second that motion.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
thank you. Motion carried, Mayor.
Item C, consider bids for crack and chip seal projects.
Yes, council, we sent this part of the road maintenance program out to bid several weeks ago. The entire program's $535,000. We'll have other bids coming back to you as we get those out and get those bids back in. This part involves crack sealing on Lexington Avenue and Commerce Drive, and a crack seal plus chip seal on 95th Street between Corliss and Kill Creek. And then we also put an add alternate on 85th Terrace, which is out just east of Cedar Creek Road. We didn't know, we'd anticipated all this work in within the context of the $535. We thought this was all going to cost about $120,000, $115,000, $120,000. So we put the ad alternate in there, not knowing if we'd be able to afford it. Bid came in. Vance Brothers was the low, and when you add the ad alternate, they're at $117,085. So we're recommending accepting their proposal for that amount.
Questions for Mike?
So Commerce Drive is where the UBass went down, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So how much of that is cracking already? How much of that needs to be sealed?
It is. So that's the thing. UBass does tend to crack. It'll show those reflective cracks within a year or two, and it'll last as long as you keep those cracks sealed. So on a UBass surface, it's a little bit more important to stay ahead of that than it might be on an asphalt road. So that's why it's on the list. So that UBass on Commerce is now 2 years old. It's the crack seal as far as a preventative maintenance. It's pretty cost effective. We just need to stay on top of that.
And normally we'd probably be at 5 years before we were looking at crack sealing an overlay or something.
Right.
Or a new road.
Yep.
This work be done relatively soon, even though we've got a lot of construction stuff going on Commerce there.
Well, yeah, our intent is to just move forward with it
Okay.
and get it done, get it out of the way. Yeah.
Any more questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve the bid from Vance Brothers in the amount of $117,085 to do the granite chip sealing, crack seal surfacing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried.
Okay. Item D, discuss upcoming grant applications and CIP funding.
Yeah, council, I just kind of wanted to get this in front of you, not because we need any action or because it's really anything different than we've ever done before, but just to make you aware of some of these funding sources that are one-time funding sources that we're relying on in our capital improvements plan to implement the projects that we have on the list. And I think I knew on Friday when I was writing this that the world might be different now than it was then. It turns out that it might be. Some of these, I was on a call this afternoon with other city managers in the county talking about their 2020 budget and some of the moves they're having to make currently. That might ultimately impact the CARS budget. It might ultimately impact the SMAC budget. So those two sources from the county could be impacted by just the current economic repercussions of COVID-19. So forgetting all that for a moment, we do have several grant applications that are coming due this spring yet. CDBG would be the first one, so you'll be seeing a project selection discussion on that for the next meeting in April. Johnson County Cars, we're looking at needing $550,000 for the roundabout project next year. So I'll be submitting that. It's looking like that deadline might be moved back a little bit, but the end of April or June 1 for that one. The SMAC program we've talked about is $150,000 in our CIP to help with the Ottawa Street project that's occurring in 2022. So that deadline isn't until 2021. KDOT has a cost share program out right now that's not among our normal annual grant applications. Deadline is toward the middle of May. We will submit for the Ottawa Street project on that 500,000, and then we'll also submit for 1.5 million for the 83rd Street Bridge project. Also coming up in July through August of this year is the Surface Transportation Program through MARC. Again, 83rd Street Bridge project for that 1.5 million. We're going to make these two applications to KDOT and STP almost simultaneously, really, in the hopes that we get one of them. I've included some staff time hours in there for the submittal of these. Just kind of want to get this in front of you because you will be seeing some of these require council approval before I submit, others don't. So you may see some of them back. The CDBG one for sure. The CARS one for sure. Not sure about SMAC or the KDOT processes just yet. But so I wanted to get this in front of you just to, if you have any thoughts or concerns about the projects that we're submitting, any ideas about submitting on other projects, or most importantly, any other programs that you're aware of that we might be eligible for in the public works realm for capital improvements. Some, like I said, some of the COVID stuff is impacting this. There is word that CDBG, the county may get additional CDBG as part of the stimulus package, get additional CDBG monies, but it's unclear how that will be funneled. So at this time, this is kind of a snapshot of what we know right now. I did include some information there in the packet, and there's some links to the websites there, just about these programs. But again, if we don't get one or a particular funding source, then obviously the project that is devoted to is in jeopardy. So that's really it on that. I'll answer any questions you might have.
The presentation I was at on the where the cost share was discussed or presented, at least in projects, it seemed like projects that were awarded funds for this year, a lot of them were trail or sidewalk type projects, safe routes type, I don't know if that was an intentional emphasis of the program or just the way it happened to fall out this year, but I don't know if we might want to include some an element of that type in as an additional project.
Right.
I mean, it's not a minimal amount of work. It's not an insignificant amount of work, but it's not a great deal to put one of those applications. Do they limit the number of applications you can submit?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah, I don't know, but obviously, so the bond referendum failed. So right. we were going to take that $3.2 million of funding and project just out of the CIP, and we need to probably start thinking about our priorities about rolling those projects into the mix of all our other CIP projects, and we're going to start that with the park board, and obviously have those discussions through the 2021 budget cycle or discussions and on through the fall. So if we're gonna put in for a grant for one of those projects, it is, it would require some local match. I think it's a 15% local match.
At least
requirement.
15, and that was the other point. It seemed like those that were selected had much more than the minimum.
Yeah.
I didn't go through the whole list, but it looked like most of those that were selected were somewhere closer to a 50% match that got the funds in this year's program.
I wonder what the scoring rating matrix is, if there is one.
I don't.
Yeah, if that helps.
Yeah. And I don't know that it's a completely different set of circumstances this year than what it was last year as well. That I don't know, the 20 million or whatever they had out there may suddenly
It might disappear.
right?
Yeah. Were you on the LKM call?
I missed it. No, I was on another call.
That was a theme of the meeting, that the state's going to be reeling from this.
Right. So I don't.
Yeah.
It was just a thought I had. I mean, 2 weeks ago, that was my thought, was that knowing projects that were successful last year, maybe a project more geared toward that might be a good one to submit. But as long as we get something in there, and if we show a significant match, then if anything's there, I would say we. Any thoughts from council? Projects? I guess.
Okay. Well, I'll move forward again. You'll see some of those back.
Did they extend the deadline then on the cost share? It looked like.
I think that is the extended deadline. It was the middle of April.
It was 4/15.
Yeah.
Now it's
that's the extension.
5/18. Okay. All right. Okay. We are to. That was it for that, right, Mike?
That's it for that. Thank you.
Item 5, executive session.
Patrick, you want me to clean off my keyboard? Do you want to do the motions and stuff and bring them back and forth rather than me running in and out?
Well, we'll have to do the motion in open session.
So we're going to have to do a motion.
Yeah. So
come back, do a motion, come back, do a motion, come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for those of you on the video conference, the way we'll do this is you just stay on the video conference. I can see a list of people who are on it, and nobody's on it except council members. So I'll have to go and stop the YouTube video.
Can you lock that meeting now? I see a thing that says the meeting's unlocked.
Ah,
there we go.
Now I've locked the meeting, so nobody
could
can
join inadvertently during the.
Yeah, very good. Give me a thumbs up if you can all still hear me. Can you hear me? Everything okay? So I'll have to stop the YouTube broadcast, and then we'll ask Lana to leave the room, and well, I guess we'll need to make a motion to go into executive session. Then I'll stop the broadcast. Lana will leave the room, and we'll have our executive session, the first item, and then we'll need to start the broadcast again, make a motion to go into the second, and then to the third. So,
how long are we talking for each topic?
I don't know, Mike. You think 10 minutes each?
I think 10 minutes each should do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can start with the first motion to go into executive session on the land acquisition item.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We go into executive session at 7:28 for 10 minutes to discuss purchase of private real estate property for city use pursuant to statutory basis land acquisition KSA 75-4319B6 with the open meeting resuming at City Council Chamber. Return time 7:38 p.m.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.